You're a special one, Mandy. I, too, am a special one. Let us be so very special together.
A cult with demonic bikers on their side against a crazy Nick Cage with a Stormbreaker type weapon.
Look, man, I'm just along for the ride on this one.
2018 brought us Mandy, a beautifully shot out-of-the-box movie. Classified in the revenge genre, much like John Wick, Carrie, and The Crow. But what this movie does with this genre is truly unique. Written and directed by Panos Cosmatos, writer Beyond the Black Rainbow. Panos' style of colors and shots make for one badass trippy movie. This movie is shot in the Shadow Mountains in the Mojave Desert in eastern California. This location seems to capture the woodland feel of the forthcoming adventure quite well, and makes for some pretty scenes. Mandy is a visual psychedelic ride from start to finish. This movie went a different route, in not only storytelling, but with choosing a production company. And that production company is called Legion M.
We think that an entertainment company owned by fans is better than one owned by Wall Street.
And so we're funding films and TV shows and VR projects collectively as a community.
And when we're successful, sharing the reward.
You know, being a part of Legion M, whether you invest or not, is being a part of a community that is making a difference in the entertainment industry.
Mandy opens with Cage as a lumberjack. After working like a dog, he comes home with a terrible knock-knock joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada from Chips.
Cage's girlfriend, Mandy Bloom, is an artist, and they've chosen to live their paradise out together in the wilderness. We get a sense of the love these two have for each other. Their house is also very translucent, having windows basically everywhere. The place where they sleep is practically outside, and it's very beautiful. Cage asks in their pillow talk, "What's your favorite planet?" Mandy says a fun fact about Jupiter, making me realize my love for hippie girls all over again. Cage first says Saturn is his favorite, but then jokingly brings up Galactus being his favorite because he eats the planets. It's very clear that Red is deeply, truly in love with Mandy, which is important to his journey during the second half of the film. After that, she wakes Red up from a nightmare. He says to her about wanting to move away. If only she would have listened. But movies gotta happen, I guess, and the next night she's walking home from work as she sees our antagonist of this story, Jeremiah Sand, played by Linnaeus Roach, is the world's douchiest cult leader. He's the leader of the Children of the New Dawn, a terrible sounding band name.
Linus, take us into Jeremiah, the role that he didn't want that you were able to abscond with.
Well, I'm glad Nick turned it down. Well, Panos has created this crazy sort of narcissistic, maniacal character who thinks he's enlightened. He's God's gift to the humanity and the universe. But like Nick said, what I saw he captured on the page was something quite tragic and flawed and human. And in some weird way, my sort of narcissistic introspection that I've spent time looking at, I could see the male ego revealed in all of its horrible glory. And so it was an opportunity to kind of just put that out on the screen and hold nothing back.
Jeremiah sees Mandy and he's instantly hooked. He tells Brother Swan to get her for him, and like a good follower, Swan agrees. He also asks Swan if he has the horn of Abraxas, and the movie starts using its paintbrush tool and turns green. Abraxas is a deity and eventually became the name of a demon in occultism. Google bitches, saves lives. Before Swan leaves, Jeremiah says to offer up the porker to sweeten the deal.
The next scene takes us to the quick stop, where Mandy meets the groupie from the Children of the Dawn. After some chit-chatting, Mandy tells her she lives down the road at Crystal Lake. Oh, not that one. We'll get there. Don't worry. The lady tells Mandy she'll see her later, and it gives me chills thinking about how a simple saying could hold so much weight from a stranger with ill intentions. Brother Swan and his goons arrive at the house. He blows the magic ocarina, which looks more like a magic conch shell. After waiting a minute, shadowy, Cenobite-like creatures show up on bikes. These motorcycle heads are called the Black Skull. Swan gives them a drink, and like a girl in college, he downs it like water. The leader tells Swan, "Blood for blood." But Swan is a businessman, and he tells them cult first.
With Red and Mandy asleep, we pan over to the Black Skull and friends watching in the woods. Chain-like noises and flashing blue lights giving off Hellraiser vibes. They have now entered the house. They waste no time and grab Nick and Mandy. The lovers face down on the ground looking at each other. Red decides to take a cat nap. Mandy, meanwhile, seemingly understands this is her fate, looks over to see the kid from Bad Santa getting pulled off screen.
Don't worry. Those scary men are gone now.
The groupies have Mandy. They tell her Red is fine and will stay that way as long as she listens. The old bitch slaps my hippie girlfriend out of jealousy for being Jeremiah's new toy. They give Mandy some candy, what is apparently potent LSD, in the eyeball no less, and let a note bug sting her, infecting her with its psychedelic venom.
I like to call that the cherry on top.
Mandy trips major balls, just like the editor is with this movie's color palette. Jeremiah explains her soul called out to him, and that's why he took her.
Look at me. Look at me! Look at me!
He asks her what she sees, and she says the Reaper fast approaching. He figures some music will set the mood. He shows her his mixtape like an annoying SoundCloud rapper today does. It turns out Jeremiah is bitter that he didn't end up with a banger, but he trusted in him that he's destined for a different path. While explaining his God's ways, Jeremiah's face mixes with Mandy's, which is a real phenomenon that can happen during acid trips. Jeremiah tells her everything is his, and if he wants it, he's gonna take it.
He asks if she wants to bang, but she laughs at him, because she's not gonna bone a terrible musician when she's got the national treasure himself waiting at home. He tries to Charles Manson her with his LSD mysticism, but our girl sees him for what he is. Pathetic weirdo. Feeling rejected, he lashes out on his squad, telling them not to look at him. Jeremiah, talking to himself, asks what he should do, until he realizes bitches ain't shit and goes out to talk to Cage. He boldly states he doesn't know what love is, and shows him his version of love, with groupie number 2 sitting in this room playing Russian roulette, Nick trying to get her to stop, but she fires. Luckily, blanks. Swan shows off the blade from the Pale Knight. The screen goes green as Jeremiah grabs it. He tells Red, Jesus was a fool for not offering a sacrifice instead of his own life. He stabs Red and strings up Mandy, pouring gas and setting her on fire while Red watches. The children leave as Red looks on in anger. He eventually gets his hands free and makes it to Mandy's body. She's completely ash at this point and blows away in the wind. Cage makes his way inside and passes out. He dreams in a cartoon world with Mandy's face rotting away. He wakes up and boozes up to stop the pain, and we get Prime Cage. And boom, our hero's quest for revenge and glory begins.
We now have but one choice. We must face the long dark of Moria. Be on your guard.
Red hits the road and knocks on a not-so-friendly trailer. He tells Bill Duke he's come for the Reaper. Duke asks what he needs it for. Cage tells him he's going hunting, and like a true friend, he gives him more supplies. Red breaks down, saying Crazy Evil burned his girlfriend. Duke tells him Black Skulls are a part of this. They've been a plague causing multiple deaths, missing truckers, prostitutes, and gutted bodies left on doorstep. He gives their backstory, saying one day a scientist that makes their LSD gave them a tainted batch, and they've been haunted ever since, and if he's going to hunt them, his odds aren't that good, and he'll likely die.
Don't be negative.
Quick aside on the Black Skulls for lore purposes. Their names are the leader Scratch, Scab, the female member Sis, and a mildly obese demon named Fuckpig. Don't ask, we didn't. They're also clearly a representation of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Only because this is the modern era, they've brought their motorcycles instead. Legend has it that they were sent by God himself as punishment for sin.
You should read your Bible, sirs.
The lore says that the riders individually represent the coming of war, famine, conquest, and plague, all of which seem to manifest through the terrible actions of these LSD bikers. Somehow tied into Mandy's story is a legendary prophecy come to haunt the area.
Red takes a page out of Tony Stark's book and builds himself a weapon. This weapon is called the Beast, and she is a beaut. You can actually buy this thing from Legion M for $450. 1 hour and 15 minutes in, we finally get a title card. Cage, finding the Black Skulls, scopes them out, and arrows one down. The Black Skull member shoots at Cage's car, but that doesn't stop him from trying to run him over. Nick wakes up with one hand handcuffed and the other hand nailed to the ground.
was my favorite shirt.
I fucking love this guy. Realizing he can break the pipe, he calls the guy a snowflake and proceeds to beat him with said pipe. He falls into a hole that was there for plot purposes. Like a badass, Red pulls the nail out. Red, knowing how a video game works, grabs a box cutter for the next boss. Going room to room, he finds Scarface sniffing cocaine. Not realizing how quick cokeheads can be, he flips Cage onto a table. Cage manages to slit the guy's throat. The guy who ripped his shirt is back for round 2. They get into a tussle, but Cage snaps his neck. Next boss? Gonna need a power-up. Red snags his weapon back and loots up. He sees a gray goo jar and decides to lick it. He's off to the races again.
He shoots the guy looking at a burning car. The guy no-sells the arrow, and we get to see the beast. Now, the weapon Cage is wielding is no simple forged epic item. It symbolizes a manifestation of his psychosis that he's entered and progresses down through the story. And it looks insane to boot. Its design is based on the F from the Celtic Frost logo, and it looks like it could have been a legendary off the 25-man Lich King fight.
So be it. Champions, attack!
I'll keep you alive to witness the end, Fordring.
The blade catches the demon in the neck, and once more victorious, the Cage stands. Ominously, before the demon dies, he tells Red that Mandy is still burning, and he repeats, "She burns," before finally being decapitated. Our boy finds the smoke laying on the ground.
After traveling somewhere, Ghost Rider encounters the chemist, who has a 007 golden pistol and a pet tiger named Lizzie.
Why do we have to fight? There's so much I could learn from you.
Man, they wronged you. Why they gotta be like that?
The chemist, seeing that Cage has been wronged, tells him to go north, and like a wise man, takes off in a Mario Kart down a cavern. He encounters rough terrain and gets stuck. And then we get anime titties again for some reason. He holds up the cultist car and tells them to suck on his axe. He walks away from the groupie girl, sparing her the axe. Well, we've gone full anime, and he sends Beast flying through the air, hitting a critical strike.
Finally, he approaches his ultimate upgrade, the chainsaw. Except, oh no, his next boss cultist is also wielding a chainsaw. Sephiroth's chainsaw, as opposed to Cage's chainsaw. He proves size doesn't matter, it's what you do with it. The fight ends with a little chainsaw lasso chainsaw combo. Oh boy, this battle for revenge makes me really wish I could fight alongside my boy Red and give these dicks what they deserve.
What if I told you, you can?
But how?
Available now from Cosmic Evil Toys, Mandy, the action figure, featuring all your favorite characters. Carruthers, the man with the mysterious past. Use the Reaper to capture the Black Skulls. Fuel your car to celestial frequencies with the Righteous Man, Jeremiah Sand. The Black Skull with Porker Fuckdust. Get the Red Skull variant with Killer Daggers. Mandy and her woodland deer, strange and eternal, with 60% cheddar.
Apparently Jesus has something to do with this, and our hero enters the temple. He finds some shitty Harry Potter fanfiction, and tosses that shit aside. Old lady brags about how great she is in bed, while we fade to black, implying that they get it on. Just kidding. There goes her head. Our hero nears the end of his quest. The cult leader gives him a lunatic's best impression of a monologue before Cage delivers this epic line.
The psychotic drowns where the mystic swims. You're drowning. I'm swimming.
The once proud leader now begs for his life and then offers to blow Cage. Revenge is served. The cult and most of its adherents having been dealt with, the LSD biker demons slain, and all of the quest marker boxes checked, Cage drives off with a job well done. He finally has a moment to gather himself, and flashes back to his first time meeting Mandy. She then appears sitting in the passenger seat. Nick Cage gives us the most beautiful desktop background one could ever hope to find. Surrounded by the mountains of madness, our hero drives off.
So, that was 2018's Mandy. Watching this movie, it's unsurprising that the writer and director, Panos, said in an interview, "I talked to some people who got the impression that we were just running the woods out of our minds, randomly filming shit. which is hilariously accurate to some extent, but there is some clever method to this madness that is Mandy. Having a budget over $6 million, only made $1.4 million in return. You'd think it was a total flop, but this movie is highly acclaimed, and with great reason. This movie is dedicated to Johanna Hansen. He's the composer of this film, and he did God's work. Mandy's theme is beautiful. There's so many elements of what makes a movie good, and the score is one that is crucial. With how great this man was at his job, he helped make Mandy what it was. And that is one crazy fucked up movie.